Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast. My name is Lungile and I'm with my co-host Thulebona and today we'll be unpacking the short story titled The Black Chamber by Angela Carter.
So as Lungile has just said, we will be unpacking how Carter transformed fairy tales, tale motifs into unsettling Gothic short stories that problematize gender, sexuality, control, cultural fantasy of romance.
So I believe that firstly we have to look at the original version, as we know that Angela Carter is retelling the story that was written by Charles, but in a female perspective. So the Bluebird version was written by Charles Perrault. It's about a fairy tale of a wealthy man who marries a young beautiful wife, and he has a history of murdering his previous wives. And when he lives his new life, he gives her the key to his home but forbids her from opening a certain room. But then due to curiosity, his wife ended up opening that room, and then when he found out that the wife opened the room, he ended up opting to kill her, but then the wife was saved by her brother. But then looking at the version that was written by Angela Carter, in this version Angela Carter is retelling a story from a female perspective. We can say in short, she is a feminist. So in this version she's retelling a story of a young wife, innocent wife, who married the Marquis, who is more experienced than her, who is wealthy, and then this Marquis also gives her the orders of not opening a certain room. But then due to curiosity again, she ends up opening that room, and then Marquis ends up planning to kill her, but then in this version she is saved by her mother.
So I'm going to talk about the gender roles. So Angela Carter's work powerfully challenges the traditional gender roles by subverting the classical fairy tale fantasy, where men are often the heroic saviors or figures and women are passive themselves in the distress. So instead of presenting the complex female characters who are often agents of their own destiny, actively defying and dismantling the patriarchal norms.
So I believe a striking example that we can utilize to support this subversion is the example of the protagonist's mother. So this mother is not a helpless figure. We see this in many things, since the protagonist does mention that the mother, she mentions that her mother is an eagle-featured indomitable mother who once killed a man eating a tiger with her own bare hands. I believe this ultimately supports the fact that she is strong, capable, and a hero. So in this version, the mother is a hero as she comes for the rescue of her daughter from the Marquis' blood intentions. I believe this highlights that women can also offer support, help, care, and save each other, which subvert from the patriarchal fantasy of a male rescuer.
So the protagonist herself also undergoes transformation. So at first she seems to fit the innocent, submissive wife archetype. So she acknowledges the innocence by also stating that she is not naive. So this is a very crucial distinction. When she discovers the Marquis' dark secrets, she realizes her own potential for corruption, which took her breath away. So this shows that the Angela Carter's female characters are not one-dimensional. They possess complex emotions and desires that go beyond simple innocence than the one in the Bluebird, which are just the traditional fairy tale.
So moving on, I believe it is important to also touch on the problem of control. So Angela Carter also touches on the problem of control. So the story's central conflict revolves around control, particularly wealth and power, how it is used to manipulate and dominate. So we can take an example of the Marquis. I believe Marquis is a clear example of toxic masculinity. He views her wife as an object to be possessed and controlled, as he mentions in the story that my vision of the Apigois. I believe the statement highlights that he sees her wife as a piece of meat for his sadistic pleasure.
So Marquis uses his wealth, his castle, his lavish gifts, and his opulent lifestyle, and all these tools are used to lure women into his deadly trap. He fetishes her innocence and prepares her for a sacrifice. So in a horrifying ritual. So in the story we find quotes like, "Go now, bathe yourself, dress yourself," and they illustrate the luxury rituals and the ceremonial droppings that they are about to happen. So after the sacrifice, All of this exposes the Marquis's evil and darkness masked behind his charming facade.
Now, moving on, I think it is also important to touch on love and companionship. So, in stark contrast to Marquis, the author Keita introduces a different version or different kind of masculinity. So she introduces the blind pianistena. So he represents the blind pianistena represent a kind of masculinity that is based on mutual respect and genuine companionship. And I think it is worth noting that he fell in love with the protagonist, and to emphasize or to highlight that he is not objectifying her. He fell in love with her without seeing her with his naked eyes. So it is obvious that the love was pure. It was true love.
So this highlights the key argument that Carter is not against the idea of love itself, but she challenges the relationship that are not based on mutual feelings and respect. So Jan Yaves, the blind piano guy, support for the protagonist shows that true love offers support and safety, not manipulation, power or control. So again, moving to the Gothic imagery, so we are going to talk about how Angela Carter uses Gothic imagery. So Carter's use of Gothic imagery is central to her transformation of the fairy tale. She uses genre's dark motifs to expose the truth behind the cultural fantasies of romance. So the key, which is eternally stained with blood, becomes a symbol of the horrifying secrets at the heart of the seemingly perfect marriage.
So I think just to add on the Gothic imagery, so the author also utilizes the castle. So the castle itself, in this case, it's a space of dread. So the author mentions that it's an eerie space full of secrets. She also mentioned that it has winding corridors. I believe this creates a sense of dread. So Keita shows that the fairy castle is not a place of safety but a place of horror. So she utilizes this imagery to emphasize that not all that glitters is gold, and also that the cultural fantasy of a wealthy prince is often a dangerous illusion.
So although the Blue Pet and the Bloody Chamber share the same core storyline, they differ greatly in purpose and presentation. So the Blue Pet, as traditional folk tale, delivers a simple moral lesson that warns women against the curiosity and emphasizes obedience. So its characters are flat, with the vicious husband, a passive wife, and a heroic brother who had restored order. By contrast, the Bloody Chamber reimagines the tale through the Gothic and feminist lens. Her heroic and psychological complex, torn between fear and the ultimate, survives through her mother's intervention. So the Marquis is depicted with disturbing charisma, making him a layered and symbol figure of patriarchal. Thus, while the Blue Pet reinforces the patriarchal values, the Bloody Chamber subverts them by granting women agency, depth, and power.
In conclusion, I think it is worth noting that it is clear Angela Keita is not scratching out the idea of a happy marriage or a happy ending itself, but instead she is working against a traditional fairy tale like the Bluebeard, which romanticizes a man who utilizes wealth and possessions to lure and objectify women. And as we saw in the original version of the Bluebeard, that women were portrayed as people who have to be submissive to their husbands and who have to rely on their husband, and also men were portrayed as people who are the only ones who are capable of saving women.
So to add on that, she uses the Gothic style of writing to peel back the layers of the cultural fantasies, revealing the dark sides of marriage and based on the power imbalances. So through her writing, Carter reimagines female agency and sexuality. So she proves that women are not passive victims but complex individuals of great strength and resilience, and are even capable of saving themselves.
Again, just to sum up everything, comparing the Bluebeard and the Bloody Chamber. So in the version that was written by Angela Keita, to show that she is writing it in a female perspective, she portrayed the women as people who do have feelings, who are capable of love. So in this version, at the end of the story, the women or the innocent protagonist ended up getting married to the blind pianist tenor and also inheriting wealth. And I believe that if it was written by a male figure, it was going to be so obvious. And again, noting that the man was killed, if it was written, in my opinion, if it was written by a male figure, it was going to portray women as people who has to be submissive and also receive punishment maybe for killing that predator.
So thank you for listening. We hope this analysis has given you a deeper understanding of the Bloody Chamber and the brilliant ways Angela Carter reshaped the fairy tale genre for a new generation.